The stars above Virelis Prime shone brightly, undisturbed by the noise of politics below. The Galactic Council was in session inside the vast floating spire known as the Concordium. Leaders from 100 species sat around a circular chamber, their voices raised in debate over trade routes and territorial rights. For most it was business as usual. Then everything changed. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. The room darkened. Communication panels blinked and died. A sharp alarm rang through the walls. Security drones hovered into place, scanning for threats. "What's happening?" asked Ambassador Selik of the Jurnari. The answer came not from within the chamber, but from above. A giant hollow screen flickered on, showing a distant space station orbiting a red dwarf star. The feed was grainy and silent at first. Then came the sound, muffled screams, a power surge, then silence. The station exploded into a bright ball of fire and debris, its fragments scattered into space like dying stars. Gasps filled the council floor. "That's Station G-17 on the Terran fringe," cried one delegate. "It's a military-grade outpost." The council president, a four-eyed being named Veroth, stood and demanded order. "Who attacked that station? Is this a rebellion? Pirates?" "No," came a cold, unfamiliar voice. Every screen in the chamber suddenly went black, then lit up again. This time a single figure stood at the center. A human. Her dark grey uniform bore no insignia. Behind her stood a wide command bridge filled with glowing interfaces and silent crew. Her eyes were calm, her voice controlled. "I am Captain Alara Voss of Earth, commander of the warship Oblivion. What you just saw was a message. Humanity," she continued, "was cast out of this council 22 years ago. We were told we were unfit, primitive, dangerous. You locked our planet out of trade. You left us to wither on the edge of your great empire." She leaned forward slightly. "You thought we died. You were wrong." The chamber fell into a stunned silence. Even the usually boastful Zerenthian delegate said nothing. Alara's voice remained steady. "We found power in the shadows. We mastered what you feared, dark matter. And now we return, not to beg, but to demand. You will recognize Earth. You will speak to us as equals. Or you will face what we have become." Her image faded, replaced by the symbol of Earth, an old blue-white marble encircled by black stars. Council President Veroth stood frozen. This is an act of war." "No," whispered Chancellor Threx Mala, rising slowly from his seat. His purple robe shifted as he walked toward the center of the chamber. "This is something far worse." Outside the Concordium, news spread fast. Hollow networks lit up with reports of the destroyed station, trade fleets rerouted, defense systems powered on, and deep within the archives, ancient warnings about dark matter weapons were reread for the first time in centuries. On the bridge of the Oblivion, Alara watched it all unfold. Her second-in-command, a sharp-eyed woman named Kale, spoke quietly. "They'll come for us now." Alara didn't look away from the screen. "Good," she said. "Let them." Far above the galactic core, hidden in the folds of dark space, Earth's fleet waited, silent, cloaked and ready. The Oblivion drifted through the emptiness of Sector Tenebra, cloaked in dark matter. Its massive hull glided like a ghost through the black of space. No radar could see it. No satellite could trace its path. Around it, 10 other ships followed in silence, each one a product of Earth's lost decades. Captain Alara Voss stood at the main observation window. Her face was still, but her eyes burned with purpose. Below, a small moon orbited a dead gas giant. On that moon sat a Galactic Council trading post, lightly defended but important. It was their next target. "Time to interception?" Alara asked. 4 minutes, replied Cal, her second-in-command. "Engage primary systems." "No survivors this time. We send another message." Cal gave a sharp nod and turned to the tactical console. Commands were given in quiet, practiced voices. The crew of the Oblivion didn't need shouting. They had trained for this for years. In the dark corridors of the ship, engineers monitored power flows, gunners prepped rail cannons and dark matter warheads. pilots strapped into their strike pods, eyes sharp and steady. These were not soldiers born in war. They were made in it, forged in silence during Earth's long exile. The fleet moved in perfect sync. They broke formation in a sweep, surrounding the moon like circling predators. The Council station never saw them coming. Within seconds, the first impact hit. No sound in space, but fire bloomed across the surface. The defense grid barely activated before it was torn apart. Beams of invisible energy cut through reinforced hulls. Missiles struck with pinpoint accuracy. No warning, no chance to call for help. It was over in under 3 minutes. Target neutralized, Cal said. No distress signal escaped. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment. Not in guilt, but in recognition. Prepare the message, she said. Cal pressed a button. A pre-recorded broadcast, short and clear, echoed across all known channels. This was not conquest. This was correction. Earth will no longer be ignored. Across the stars, trade routes froze. Merchant vessels abandoned their schedules. Council patrols were pulled from peaceful sectors and sent to the fringe. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. How did Earth return with such strength? How did they build these warships? And where were they hiding? Back on the Oblivion, the crew gathered in the common deck after the battle. The lights were low, food was quiet and conversations quieter. Most were young, barely adults when Earth was banished. Now they were the edge of a storm. Cal sat beside Ilara, breaking the silence. "Do you think they'll negotiate?" she asked. Ilara took a slow sip from a steel mug. "No, not yet. They still see us as insects. We need to show them the fire beneath the wings." Cal leaned forward, voice cautious. "How far are you willing to go?" Ilara looked at her, calm but firm. "As far as I must. We didn't ask for war, but we've waited long enough to stop pretending we're afraid of one." Far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council held another emergency session. Fear spread faster than fact. Reports of Earth's dark matter fleet, 10 ships, 20, perhaps more, were shared in whispers. No one knew how strong they really were. But one thing was certain: humanity was no longer weak. At the edge of known space, the Oblivion turned again. A new target blinked into view. This time a relay hub, essential for Council communications. The fleet moved like a shadow stretching across the stars. They were not here for revenge alone. They were here to change everything. The Galactic Council chamber was louder than ever before. Delegates argued across the room, their voices rising above the hum of security drones and flashing data feeds. The recent attacks had shaken every system along the Terran fringe. In less than a week, humanity had destroyed 3 Council stations and seized full control of a trade route that supplied 6 systems, and still, no one could stop them. Chancellor Threx Malor sat on his high seat in the center of the circular room. His 4 long fingers tapped against the stone armrest. His eyes, deep and cold, scanned the chamber. He let the noise continue. He wanted to hear their fear. "They've taken Viral Station and cut all transmissions to the southern colonies," shouted Ambassador Fura of the Telleri. "This is terrorism," cried another. "Humanity has declared war. They should have been wiped out when we exiled them," hissed a gray-scaled representative of the Sholak. Threx finally stood. The room fell silent at once. He raised his voice slowly, letting each word cut through the air. "We warned them. We gave them every chance to remain in peace. But they chose darkness. They built weapons in secret. They hid in the cold corners of space, waiting to strike." He walked a slow circle around the council table. "Now they believe themselves powerful. They believe they can force us to kneel." He stopped, facing the council. "They are wrong." Behind the chamber's great wall, Threx had already begun preparations. The Council's Science Command had been working on an anti-dark matter weapon for years, a theoretical device designed to shut down ships powered by unstable matter fields. Until now, it was only a prototype. Now it would be rushed into production. In the lower decks of the Concordium, teams of engineers and researchers worked in silence. A single warship was being fitted with the weapon, Project Voidlight. Its power core was unstable, its safety measures untested, but Threx didn't care. He had made up his mind. Back on the Oblivion, Elara Voss watched the Council's emergency broadcast. Threx's speech played on the screen. Earth does not return as a friend. It comes as a shadow. We will meet that shadow with fire. Elara narrowed her eyes. So it begins. Kale stood beside her. We have intercepted chatter. They're activating a new class of warship. Something experimental. Elara didn't flinch. Let them. The more they try to match us, the more they reveal their fear. Kale hesitated. Should we strike first? Elara walked to the main viewport. Outside, the rest of Earth's fleet waited like silent wolves. She thought about Earth, still hidden, still vulnerable. Most people back home didn't even know the truth. Their leaders had trusted her with this mission, trusting her to bring Earth to power without dragging it into ruin. No, she said. Not yet. Let the Chancellor show his hand. She turned to Kale. Send a direct message to the Council. Kale nodded and opened the channel. Elara's voice echoed across secure systems, translated into every language of the Galactic Council. We offer you one last chance, a seat at the table for Earth. Respect, equality, peace. Deny us again and we will not ask a third time. The message shook the Council chamber. Some delegates whispered of compromise. Others feared weakness. Threx remained silent. His eyes stayed on the screen, long after it went dark. He knew Elara Voss was not bluffing, and yet he would not bow. She must be broken, he whispered to himself. Not just defeated, broken. On the Oblivion, Elara returned to her quarters. A small photo rested on her desk. Her family, taken the day before Earth's exile. She remembered the day they were cut off. No trade, no aid, no allies. Earth had suffered in silence, but it had not died. It had prepared. Now Threx was preparing too, and the next time their ships met, the war would no longer be silent. The stars over the Delvar Rift burned faintly, hidden behind swirls of radiation clouds and debris from ancient wars. This stretch of space was quiet, long forgotten by most of the Galactic Council, but today it stirred with movement. Captain Elara Voss stood at the command deck of the Oblivion. The dark matter fleet moved silently through the edge of the rift, shields humming, weapons hot. Elara had chosen this route for a reason. It was the shortest path to the Council's central comm relay, an essential hub that connected half the galaxy's outer colonies. Taking it would blind the Council and send a message far louder than words. But something felt wrong. Any unusual signals? Elara asked, not turning her head. Carlo sat at the sensor station. There's static interference expected, given the rift's field. But there's also something else. A faint pulse repeating. Could be a beacon or a trap. Elara's eyes narrowed. Keep the fleet tight. No scouting ahead. Ready shields. Just as she finished speaking, the Oblivion shuddered violently. Red warning lights flashed across the deck. The calm was broken. Impact. A crew member shouted. Unknown energy weapon. Shields down to 60%. A bright flare lit up the starfield as one of Earth's cruisers exploded. It didn't vanish in fire like normal. It folded in on itself, crushed by invisible pressure, like space itself had collapsed. Elara steadied herself as the ship rocked again. They found us first, Carlo said, eyes wide. No, Ella replied coldly. They lured us. A Council warship, massive and unlike any they had faced before, emerged from behind a dead moon. Its hull shimmered with exotic energy. At its core was something terrible and unnatural, a pulsing white orb contained within 6 rotating rings. That's it, Elara muttered. Their anti-dark matter weapon. The fleet fought back. Railguns fired in bursts. Dark matter torpedoes raced through space. But nothing struck the enemy ship directly. Each time the energy around it bent the attacks away, twisting the battlefield like a whirlpool. The Oblivion took another hit. The lights flickered. Systems rebooted. Report, Elara called out. 2 ships lost. 1 disabled. We can't break through its shield, Carlo said. Elara stared at the display. For the first time since the war began, she felt doubt. This wasn't just a battle. It was a message. Threx had designed this ship not to win a war, but to break her will, pull back. she said. We're not winning this fight. But, Carlos started. That's an order. The fleet moved fast, vanishing into the rift's shadows. The enemy ship did not chase. It didn't have to. It had done its job. Back on the Oblivion, silence filled the bridge. 2 Earth ships were gone, 50 crew members lost. The fleet had never known defeat, until now. In her quarters, Elara sat alone. Her face was hard, but her hands trembled slightly. She stared at the blank wall. In her mind, voices from Earth echoed. Leaders who had trusted her to lead carefully. Soldiers who had followed her into darkness. People who believed she could win peace without losing everything. Carlo entered quietly. The crew's shaken. They weren't ready for a loss. No one ever is, Elara said. We need to respond. Strike something valuable. Show them we're not broken. Elara looked at her second-in-command, the one person on the ship who dared to question her openly. And what happens if we lose again? Elara asked. We can't throw away lives just to prove we're still strong. Carlo stepped forward. Then negotiate. But don't pause. Every delay makes us look weaker. Elara stood slowly. I won't let fear drive our next move. Not mine, not theirs. The next day, Elara sent encrypted messages across Council space, to rebel factions, to neutral systems, even to secret allies within the Council itself. She asked for dialogue, quiet meetings, hidden deals. There were still voices who didn't support Threx's war. Maybe not everyone wanted Earth destroyed, but she knew Threx wouldn't sit still. He had tasted power. He would strike again, and harder. Now Earth's next move would have to be more than a threat. It would have to reshape the entire board. The Council's message arrived without warning. A direct channel, sealed with high authority. Chancellor Threx himself had sent it. To Captain Elara Voss message, we offer negotiations. Meet at Concordium Station. No weapons. 1 ship, 1 chance for peace. Elara Voss stood silent as the message played again on the Oblivion's bridge. Her officers waited for her response, unsure what she would say. The Council had never before offered peace. Not like this. Capel folded her arms. It's a trap. Elara nodded. Of course it is. Then we refuse. No, Elara said. We accept. Gasps echoed across the deck. Capel stepped forward. You can't be serious. If we refuse, they paint us as cowards, terrorists. They gain sympathy. But if I go, Elara's voice stayed calm, steady. I show them I'm not afraid. And if it is a trap, we spring it first. 3 days later, the Oblivion dropped out of dark space near Concordium Station, the heart of the Galactic Council. The station floated like a great black spire above a golden planet, ringed by defense platforms and patrol ships. It was the symbol of Council authority, and now it watched as a single Terran ship approached. Only Elara and a small escort team left the vessel. The rest of the fleet remained hidden far beyond sensor range, cloaked and waiting for her signal. Inside the Concordium, security was tight. Hundreds of alien guards lined the halls. Cameras followed Elara's every step. Still, she walked with her head held high, dressed in a clean, dark uniform without medals or markings, just the Earth symbol on her chest. Simple, silent, undeniable. The council chamber was full. Delegates filled the seats. Even the rebellious factions had returned to witness this moment. At the center, Chancellor Threx stood tall, dressed in royal purple robes, his long fingers clasped behind his back. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Captain Voss, he said, you arrive at last. I came for peace, Elara replied. Not for games. Then speak, Threx said. We are listening. Elara stepped into the center of the chamber. She spoke clearly, her voice echoing across the high dome. You cast us out. You turned Earth into a ghost. But we survived. We evolved. We now hold power. You can't match and fear to understand. Yet we are not here to conquer. She paused. We are here to return. Some delegates shifted in their seats. A few nodded. Others whispered. But Threx wasn't moved. He raised his hand. Let it be recorded that Earth demands recognition, and let it be known. The lights suddenly dimmed. A quiet hum rose through the floor. That Earth came here under false peace. Alara turned quickly. Around the chamber, hidden panels opened. Weapons locked into place. Defense fields shimmered. Capel's voice cracked through Alara's earpiece. "It's a full lockdown. They're jamming your signal." Threx smiled. "You brought war to our gates. Now you'll see how we respond." But Alara didn't move. She smiled back. "I was hoping you'd try this." Outside, in the cold dark of space, Earth's fleet appeared. One by one, dark matter ships uncloaked around Concordium Station. 10 warships, fully armed, surrounded the station in a tight formation. Every ship's cannons aimed directly at key systems, shields, life support, comms. The Council panicked. Defense platforms spun into motion, but the Terran fleet was faster. In seconds, their fire disabled the outer rings. The Concordium itself shook. Inside, the Council chamber filled with alarms. Threx shouted, "You dare strike us here?" "No," Alara said, her voice firm and calm. "You struck first. We just finished it." From her wrist console, she sent a signal. It triggered a live broadcast across Council space, to every system, every world. The galaxy watched. They saw Threx's betrayal, the weapons, the ambush, the lie. They saw Earth's fleet holding back, not attacking civilians, not destroying the station, just waiting, holding power, and choosing not to use it. Yet, in that moment the war shifted. Delegates turned on Threx. Cries of outrage filled the room. "You brought war to our core. You dishonored the Council. You lied to us." Threx tried to speak, but his voice was lost. Alara stepped forward. "This is not the end, but it can be the turning point." She turned to the entire chamber. "You can continue down this path of fear, or you can rise with us. Share peace, share power." Outside, the Earth fleet waited. Weapons powered down, but stayed locked, just in case. Inside, the Council fractured. Threx was removed from the floor. A vote was called. For the first time in decades, Earth was invited to speak, not as an enemy, but as a voice with power. Alara had done what no one thought possible. She had shattered the illusion of Council dominance, without firing a shot inside the chamber. But peace was not guaranteed, only the chance of it. The chamber was quiet now. Threx Millar was gone, escorted from the floor by armed guards, his legacy collapsing behind him. His name, once feared across the galaxy, would be remembered only for lies, betrayal, and the day the Council nearly destroyed itself. Captain Ilara Voss remained at the center of the hall, standing tall. The Council delegates, still recovering from the shock of what had just happened, watched her with new eyes, some with respect, some with fear, but none with silence. The vote was swift. Earth was granted full recognition as a sovereign power, a permanent seat on the Council, access to protected systems, trade routes, and diplomatic channels. Everything that had been denied to them decades ago was now theirs, restored by strength, not by begging. But peace, Alara knew, was not something signed into existence. It had to be held, protected, and earned every day that followed. As the vote passed, messages lit up across the galaxy. News of the event spread faster than any warship. On Earth, celebrations erupted. After years of exile and quiet suffering, the people could now see what their silence had built, and more importantly, who had led them. The name Ilara Voss echoed from orbiting stations to underground bunkers. To some, she was a hero. To others, a weapon. But she had done what no one else could. She made Earth undeniable. 2 days later, Ilara walked the silent decks of the Oblivion. The fleet was in orbit above Earth now, the blue and white planet finally visible through the forward observation window. It had been years since she had seen it with her own eyes, not as a memory, but as a home. Capel approached quietly. "You're not going to the surface." Ilara shook her head. "Not yet. The Council will be watching everything we do now. We can't celebrate too loudly. We've won a place, but not trust." Capel leaned against the rail beside her. "You think they'll come for us again?" "They might," Ilara said simply. "Another Chancellor, another fear. They always do." Capel looked down at the planet. "Then what's next?" Ilara was quiet for a moment. She thought about the ships orbiting nearby, the young captains she'd trained, The quiet engineers who had built the dark matter engines in hidden labs under Earth's surface. She thought about her people, the ones still afraid, the ones who still didn't know what would come tomorrow. "We hold the peace," she said at last. "We build, we trade, we lead." Capel smiled faintly. "And if the Council betrays us again?" Elara turned to her. Her voice was soft but clear. "Then we remind them, Earth doesn't vanish anymore." In the Council chamber, a new vote was cast to reform parts of the Galactic Charter, one that included protections for exiled worlds, new rules for military weapons, and a binding oath against betrayal during peace talks. It wouldn't fix everything, but it was a beginning. And beginnings, Elara knew, were more powerful than endings. Back on the Oblivion, she stood alone on the command deck as the sun rose over Earth's curve. The stars beyond were still quiet, but not asleep. New powers would rise, new dangers would come, but now humanity had a voice, a fleet, and a place among the stars no one could take from them again. The screen in front of Elara dimmed, showing the words of the final Council agreement. She read them once, nodded, then turned away. There was more work to do. There always would be.